She's a glamour queen. She's a street dancer. She's innocent and decadent. She says she's not interested in money, but she's the chief executive of a multi-million-dollar corporation. She's one of the most famous women in the world, yet she is still afraid of failure. Parents fear her. Fans adore her. And the press won't leave her alone. She's tough, ambitious, unconventional, strong-willed, and creative. An American success story. And like any other good fairy tale, we should start at the beginning. 1959, that strange time before MTV, microwaves, and VCRs. When gas was 25 cents a gallon and a movie date was $5 total, including a burger afterwards. Rock star Buddy Holly died in a plane crash. The Edsel came and went, and American Bandstand was teaching the country to rock and roll. It was also the year that Madonna Louise Veronica Ciccone debuted in Rochester, Michigan in her first live performance. The television age was just getting up to speed, and Americans were looking to their favorite TV show to define the ideal family. Strong fathers and loving mothers whose only job was to care for their husbands and families. Not much different from the Ciccone family.
She really didn't come from a poor family. I think she kind of likes us to think that she came from a lower middle class family, but actually her father was a college-educated engineer in Detroit, and he did rather well, considering all, although he did have 8 children, so naturally that's a big financial burden, but still, she lived a healthy middle class existence.
One star Madonna loved was Shirley Temple. She mimicked her. And as the oldest girl in a family of 7 brothers and sisters, Madonna learned how to be the center of attention. In fact, even at the young age of 5, she knew she was going to be a star when she got up on a table, lifted her dress, and everyone clapped. She knew she was destined for more than a life where father always knows best. The world was going to have to make room for Madonna.
She lived in a neighborhood that was mixed, so she had a lot of black friends, and her black friends would come over and they'd play the black Motown music that was so popular in those days, and they just danced their hearts out in the driveway or in the basements. And this is where she learned a lot of her early street dancing, and this is what really got her started into dancing. She loved the black style of dancing, and she loved the music, and you still see it in her act today. It's been a great influence on her. Her childhood was wonderful in a way that she had all of her brothers and sisters around her, and she said that she was always, of the group, the flirtiest one. She said that she really knew how to flirt and get what she wanted at a very early age. When she was about 10 years old, she learned how to flirt, and she would kind of get extra money out of her father and her uncles and any men that were around, and she kind of got her way because she was cute and she knew how to flirt. She said she wasn't as much of a tomboy as some of her other sisters were. Actually, she was considered the feminine one in the family.
Madonna's parents were gentle, loving people and were faithful Catholics, an influence that would later be revealed to the entire world in their oldest daughter's lyrics and dress.
Her father made sure that she went to Mass every morning before school, so she got a lot of religious upbringing as a child. Now, she, at one point, she even wanted to be a nun. She thought about becoming a nun when she was a little girl, and she always loved those great big crosses that the nuns wore, and I think that inspired a lot of her fashion later on. But her Catholicism, she's always been obsessed with it, but she doesn't really go to church. She's not an, obsessive Catholic by any means. I mean, she breaks a lot of the rules, let's face it. But she says that they were important in teaching her the do's and don'ts of life, the ethics of life, like the 10 Commandments, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and she remembers that.
As America had to adjust to the loss of its leader, little Madonna was having to deal with her own devastating loss. At the early age of 6, she was introduced to responsibility and independence when her mother, also named Madonna, tragically died of cancer.
Obviously, the most important event in Madonna's early childhood was the death of her mother. She was around 6 or 7 years old, and this deeply affected her. It was at a time when she was just a little girl and blossoming, and she really needed her mother. So it was a devastating loss for her. Her mother had cancer and died slowly, and Madonna watched her kind of waste away. So it really changed Madonna, and she's never forgotten that. And her father did marry one of their subsequent housekeepers who was taking care of the children for him. I guess they had several housekeepers after her mother died, and then eventually he married one of them. And Madonna, didn't dislike this woman or anything. They got along okay. It wasn't like a stepmother. But she said she always felt like Cinderella which is kind of interesting because she felt that she was like kind of not given what she should have had, and she should have had a little more.
The late 60s was a time of doing your own thing. The entire population was learning to express themselves. And Madonna was definitely a product of the 60s. She was changing, discovering boys, and developing her own unique style.
One reason that she says she dresses so flamboyantly is because her stepmother used to like to dress her and her sisters alike, and this drove her crazy. Wearing school uniforms was bad enough, but having to dress like her sisters was torture. So she was always trying to find a way to make herself look different by buying bright-colored tights or tying rags in her hair, or she would do anything to try and make herself look different. She even did that when she moved to New York and became a dancer. She would cut up her leotards and hold them together with safety pins, and she always tried to have a different look than anyone else.
Not only was her personality and style beginning to emerge, so was her talent. She began experimenting with her performing career early, when, wearing a teeny swimsuit and covered in green fluorescent paint, she shocked her conservative father by doing an imitation of Goldie Hawn go-go dancing for a 5th grade talent show. No one ever suspected that she was a megastar waiting to explode. According to her best friend from Adams High, she was unusually pretty and willful, but otherwise quite ordinary. It's interesting that Madonna thought of herself as fat and ugly. Madonna was a cheerleader and very good in school.
Madonna was very smart. I mean, you say the dumb blonde, the singer, the this, the that, the bimbo. She was no dumbbell. She said that she always got very good grades, and one of the reasons was because her father gave them money when they got good report cards. She said she would always get A's and that she got more money than anyone else in her family. And actually, she did get a scholarship to a university. She wasn't a dumb girl. She just decided she wanted to go in the direction of music rather than continue studying to be a lawyer or something like that. She likes to have fun.
Finally, Madonna convinced her father to let her study ballet with Christopher Flynn. She worked 5 hours a day, and he was impressed with her remarkable progress. It was Flynn who encouraged her to express herself and reach for the stars, kind of her fairy godfather. She quit cheerleading, cut her hair, began to watch what she ate, and stopped shaving her legs and underarms. Next stop, the University of Michigan, where she was accepted to study ballet. But once again, she didn't seem to fit in. She cut and spiked her hair and ripped her tights to make her own design, anything to stand out. After 3 semesters, she left the university and went to New York to create Madonna. Our modern-day Cinderella arrived in the Big Apple in 1978 with nothing but $35, a duffel bag full of ballet tights, a doll for company, and the desire to succeed. Independent at last, she paid her rent by working at a series of fast food chains. It's hard to imagine the queen of pop living in a rat-infested apartment in the slums of New York, picking through garbage cans in search of food. But that's exactly the story she tells. In fact, many meals consisted only of popcorn, which she loves to this day. Her first big break came when she won a scholarship to the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater. To support herself, she worked at the school and a neighborhood Dunkin' Donuts. She also did some modeling, something which would later come back to haunt her. As her skills grew, she became assistant to choreographer Pearl Lang and learned the ins and outs of production numbers. But she also learned the hard fact that dancing jobs were scarce and that she would need to diversify if she were going to survive.
She's not only determined, she's impassioned, she's committed to what she wants to do. She has a deep sense of energy, and she comes alive in imagination and in determination, no matter what passes her. In the repertoire that she danced in the 2 years she was with me, there were very diverse pieces. She has an unusual capacity to empathize with any material that's given to her and to fling herself through it until she can get the most out of herself. And of course, that is an amazing talent. She would listen to what you asked, and then she would bring something of her own to it. She involved herself personally and always brought an individuality. And that's exciting for a director. She had a lovely, wistful, almost sad quality to her work, which is not there now. It was very poetic and delicate and yet deep movement with attack. She has found wonderful ways to use her talents and her shortcomings. And you're never aware of what she can't do. And that's very shrewd and very intelligent and commendable and charming. She said one day, you know, this is hard work. I have a friend who's writing some rock songs, and I'm going to be a rock singer. And I know that when Madonna says she's going to do something, she's going to do it. And I didn't doubt her for one moment. I didn't think it would explode into this kind of popular goddess image. But all the more power to her. I think it's wonderful.
Madonna started the decade by leaving New York to take Paris by storm. At one of her many movie and theater auditions, she was spotted by the managers of Patrick Hernandez, the French disco king.
While Madonna was in New York, she read about auditions for Patrick Hernandez dancers. They were supposed to dance with this disco king of the era. And she got the job, so she was very excited. And she met these French producers who really took a liking to her. And when she went to France with Patrick Hernandez, they coaxed her into staying for several months. They said, we can make you a star. And she was thrilled with the attention, and she was so flattered. She loved that idea. But after a few months, she just got, you know, nothing seemed to be happening fast enough for her. And Madonna is not patient, let me tell you. She will not wait around for something to happen. It's got to be now or never. So she just took off and went back to New York, because she missed all her friends and she missed the nightlife.
Back in New York, Madonna became determined to develop her musical abilities. She learned to play the drums and started a band with Dan Gilroy, an old boyfriend. About that time, Madonna decided it was time to take center stage, so she focused her energy on becoming a singer. Artistically, she was inspired by black singers like Diana Ross. However, her manager wanted her to sing like Pat Benatar. Madonna thought otherwise. Her film career got its budding start with the release of an avant-garde film, A Certain Sacrifice. Madonna, responding to a casting call, sent a letter containing her life story and some snapshots. Everyone else sent slick studio photographs and neat resumes, but the director was curious to meet this young woman who dared to be different. She got the part. Back on the music scene, she formed a new band called Emmy, and they started playing the New York club scene. Along the way, she hooked up with another old boyfriend, Steve Bray. Madonna and Steve made their own demo tape, playing all the instruments themselves, and together they set out to get a major recording deal. The deal was with Gotham Productions and producer Adam Alter. The relationship looked promising, but ended with Alter suing Madonna. Finally, the club DJs began playing her tapes. The music caught on, and people started requesting it. Mark Kamen's DJ at Danceteria was so impressed that he took the tapes to Warner Brothers Sire Records. The fact that the company's president was in the hospital didn't slow Madonna down at all. She marched right into his room where he was sitting in his underwear with a tube in his arm and had him sign the contract. The bad news was that Steve Bray was not included in the deal. The good news, Steve was to reappear in Madonna's life years later. The first single that launched her recording career was Everybody, which sold over 250,000 records. Cinderella had arrived at the ball. The mid-'80s marked the beginning of Madonna's reign as Empress of pop rock. By the end of the 1980s, the press was overflowing with headlines about the Material Girl. America became fascinated by the chameleon of a woman who made up her own rules as she went along. Her first album was released in late 1983. The songs Borderline and Lucky Star were major hits. They were the first in a seemingly unending string of albums and #1 records. One of the most important things she did was realize the importance of video to introduce fans to her style, and her famous slow-motion breakdancing in Borderline helped make her the video queen. Madonna wanted to surround herself with the best, so she chose Michael Jackson's manager, Freddie DeMann, to be her personal manager, and convinced David Bowie's record producer to produce her second album, Like a Virgin. The controversy that surrounded the release of the album and video catapulted Madonna into the headlines. That was the beginning of a long line of controversial attention. It seems like Madonna not only attracts hordes of fans, but outrageous press wherever she shows up. And it appears that Madonna doesn't mind the attention. In fact, it is often Madonna herself that adds fuel to the fires. Wearing a huge belt buckle at a concert that read "Boy Toy." Appearing as a peep show dancer in the video "Open Your Heart." Posing atop a bed with a manacle and chain around her neck in "Express Yourself."
Madonna crosses the line of good taste quite deliberately. She knows that she won't get the publicity and the shock and the excitement if she doesn't. So she'll take off just too many clothes, or she'll say, use the wrong words on TV and get herself in trouble. It's calculated. She likes that. She gets a kick out of making everybody uncomfortable.
The media doesn't understand that she has this incredible sense of humor. They always take everything so literally.
Oh, I think Madonna has a love-hate relationship with the press. Actually, she buys and reads everything, and she gets a huge kick out of stories about herself and other people. She really enjoys it. I mean, if it's really a negative thing, I'm sure it hurts her feelings. Like, she really, still to this day, can't stand to see stories about Sean and other women.
One time, she and friend Sandra Bernhardt appeared on the David Letterman show suggesting that they were an item. The press jumped on the story with both feet and reported that the duo had been spotted in the Cubby Hole, a notorious New York nightclub.
Madonna and Sandra Bernhardt became friends in New York when Madonna was doing the play there, and Sandra also had an act there. Sandra came to see the play, and she went backstage to meet Madonna, and they started joking around, and they both hit it off because they have these kind of pushy personalities, and they liked it. They were like, they became very good girlfriends and pals. And you know how girlfriends sometimes even dress alike. You pick up each other's habits, you see what's hip, and you both adopt fashion. And I think that when she went on Letterman, they deliberately were like teasing David Letterman about, about that they were more than girlfriends. And David, of course, got all excited and upset. And that's more, Madonna loving to shock people. But in actuality, they're really nothing but very good friends. I mean, Madonna likes boys. That's it.
According to Madonna, the press continually fails to get the joke, that everything she does is tongue-in-cheek. In fact, humor has been an important influence in her style and her life. She finds subjects that people take seriously and spoofs them. Madonna is able to laugh at the world and laugh at herself. In 1985, the same year Time magazine put Madonna on their cover, her modeling career came back to haunt her when Penthouse and Playboy rushed into print with pictures shot back when she was posing for her supper. Again, she approached the whole ordeal with a sense of humor.
I'm sympathizing with you by keeping my coat on, okay? So don't feel bad. No, I ain't taking shit off today. You might hold it against me 10 years from now.
Actually, 1985 was a breakthrough year for the Material Girl. She appeared in Live Aid, fell in love and married bad boy movie star Sean Penn, and surprised everyone but her fans in Desperately Seeking Susan. Released as the Madonna movie, she stole scene after scene with her portrayal of an independent, self-confident character.
Her first movie was the most successful, Desperately Seeking Susan, because she seemed to be the real Madonna. After that, she kind of turned into a cross between Madonna and Betty Boop, and nobody really liked that. She just lost her edge.
After marrying, Madonna and Sean announced that they were going to make a film together. Shanghai Surprise was their choice, a film similar to the Star vehicles of the 1930s. A major flop, it was doomed to failure by the public's lack of interest in the older style of the film and by the continual media hostility aimed at Sean and Madonna.
Shanghai Surprise was a surprise to everyone. We thought it would be great, and so did Madonna and Sean. I think they were in the throes of their passion, of their early wedding, and they decided to do this movie together in Japan, and it was a very bad decision. The script was lousy to begin with, and obviously they had great faith in the director, and they didn't get what they expected at all.
Madonna's next ventures were her Who's That Girl film and concert tour. The movie, a screwball comedy, suffered the same fate as Shanghai Surprise. Madonna and her co-star Griffin Dunn gave good performances, but their efforts were lost, and the film was less than the success she had hoped for. On the other hand, the concert was a smashing success. It was the forum she used to introduce her new, updated, sleek, uncluttered image. According to Madonna, when she sees her own image on screen above the stage, she says to herself, "What have I created? Is that me, or is this me? This small person standing down here on the stage?" That's why she called the tour, "Who's That Girl?" To add to her list of unflattering accomplishments, Mr. Blackwell honored Madonna on his list of the worst-dressed women of 1987. About this time, Madonna must have felt that maybe films were not for her. She tried Broadway in the play Speed the Plow and did well, despite the fact that she played a victim, which was hard for a woman who believes in controlling her own fate.
Madonna decided to do Speed the Plow because she knew it would revive her lagging acting career. She really needs something legitimate to help her out because she wasn't getting movie offers. And it did help her a great deal. It showed that she really could. There was potential for her to act.
All the while Madonna was busily focusing on her career, she managed to find the time to participate in charitable events, from Live Aid to AIDS fundraisers.
From the bottom of my heart, for AIDS research, I say a very huge thank you.
Thank you. Mwah.
She is really a generous person. Few people realize how much money Madonna actually does give away. I mean, it's not all publicized. A lot of it is to AIDS research and AIDS charities, and even to individuals she knows that are ill. But she really gives away a great deal of money.
People don't understand a lot of times that she's a very caring person. They don't realize that with all of her causes, like the AIDS benefits and to save the planet, I mean, she understands and she wants to help.
You know, there's a lot of major, quote-unquote, stars here playing, but, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. It's why you're here, and I'm glad you're here.
In addition to her interest in AIDS and cancer research, one of her main concerns is the destruction of the rainforest. She became concerned when a friend who spent a lot of time in Brazil made her realize that it is something that affects us right now, not a year from now or 50 years from now when the entire rainforest will be gone. In fact, the forests may hold the cures for AIDS and cancer. As Madonna's career continued to gain momentum, it wasn't long until controversy reared its ugly head again. The release of Like a Prayer was surrounded by the stuff. While rock music critics agreed that the album was the best work that Madonna had ever done, there was a tremendous fuss over the lyrics and images in the video, which featured a black Jesus and Madonna standing against a background of burning crosses. Madonna says the video had a very positive message: not to fear, not to be afraid of your feelings, and not to be afraid of the truth.
Madonna likes to shock people, so she's always cooking up new ways to shock the public. And I think Like a Prayer threw in a lot of ways, various ways of shocking people with religious and racial overtones and violence and just about everything you could mix into one big pot of stew. She shocked Pepsi, that's for sure. She was hired to do a commercial for them. And actually, her commercial was very sweet and soft, but when Like a Prayer came out, you know, it created such a furor that Pepsi was afraid to run the ad. They're afraid they'd be identified with all the negatives that were involved in Like a Prayer.
1990, Dick Tracy, the film that gave her what she wanted: a strong role, a great production, and a major hit. She knew Breathless Mahoney was just right for her, and to get it, she agreed to work for scale. $1,400 a week. It worked. Giving up money for the right role gave her the movie stardom she'd been seeking. At the same time that Dick Tracy was being released to rave reviews, Madonna was on her 25-city Blonde Ambition tour. The show sold out in 68 minutes and was nearly 2 hours long, featuring 18 production numbers. Madonna had control over virtually every aspect of the tour, from the music to the sets to the hiring and firing of the choreographers.
Every inch of Blonde Ambition was Madonna's creation from day one to the end. I mean, she even fired her choreographer well into rehearsals because it wasn't exactly what she wanted. She knows exactly what she wants, and she always gets it. She hires the right people. If they're wrong, she fires them. She knows what she wants her show to look like from beginning to end. She hires people that she likes and that like her. so that they work well together. They're very hip and this and that. And I think when people don't get along, they end up not working for her very soon.
The music has changed since the beginning of her career, when she came across as a clown having fun with her audience. Madonna has been bruised by the real world, and some of that pain has made its way into her music. It's strange that while much has been written about Prince and his total creative control and the versatility of his talent, the press focuses on Madonna's look and private life. As a matter of fact, Prince has probably been the musician most influential in her life. He's courageous and causes a lot of controversy, which, according to Madonna, is great.
Madonna has always admired Prince. First of all, you know, he's got that fashion style like she does, totally different, does whatever he wants, has a lot of nerve, and she likes that in a person, and she likes his music. You know, she's always loved black music, and the combination of kind of like pop and black music and dance music. So she really adores Prince, and they've been in touch, you know, for a long time, and she said that what bothered her about Prince is he never liked to talk very much. She said they'd go out to dinner and he'd make her do the ordering, and she would just like force him to talk to her. But she claims that they never really had a romance, and I think that's possible because I know that she really admires his work.
Madonna writes her lyrics with collaborators like Steve Bray and Pat Leonard composing the music. She says that her song ideas come from the gutter, from everyday life. Surprisingly, it usually takes less than 3 hours for the team to compose a song. That includes Madonna not only writing the lyrics, but many times recording a lead vocal track. The superstar once told a reporter for People magazine that she wanted to be famous. She never said she wanted to be rich. And she doesn't come across as rich.
Madonna refuses to give up her public life, meaning she won't lock herself up like Elvis and stop going out. Madonna goes out every day. She's in the streets. She goes shopping. She just goes out as much as she can. She wants to see real life, and she likes to hang out on the streets, sometimes in disguise. And a lot of her inspiration comes from things she sees and hears on the streets or in clubs, and that's why she never wants to stop going out. I was sitting in a health food restaurant once, and I was reading a Star magazine and swinging my leg, and someone tripped over my foot, and I looked up, and it was Madonna wearing a leather coat, and she was having like some vegetable soup there with a friend. But she was so low-key at the time. She didn't have platinum blonde hair. You really wouldn't have looked at her. And if she puts on a hat or maybe a wig and sunglasses, she can really go almost anywhere because she's petite and little. She often wears just a black leather jacket and plain clothes. She's not like Prince, where she stands out so much. So she can get away with sneaking around a little bit. She tends to like to wear the same thing every day, and it's usually very low-key, her day wear. She's not a flashy dresser in her private life. You don't see her walking around in satin bustiers in the daytime.
The fact remains, she is the chief executive of a multi-million-dollar corporation who enjoys investing her money in good scripts, art, and people in need. According to Madonna, money buys freedom, power, and the ability to help other people. Madonna labors as hard at keeping in shape as she does on her career. She works out religiously.
She goes out every day, no matter where rain or shine, around 11 o'clock or noon. She does like a 10-mile routine up the hills. When she's in Los Angeles, she does this uphill routine, which is staggering. The photographers can't even follow her. They collapse all around her because she's got so much strength. And then she goes home and works out with her trainer for another hour or two. So she has an enormous routine that she does every day. She's had the same trainer for years. And he's also, he keeps an eye on her when they're out jogging in the park in New York together or on the streets or here in Los Angeles. He always keeps an eye out and protects her in a real nice way because none of obviously the security guards could keep up with her. She's too fast.
Madonna takes her diet very seriously, sticking to a vegetarian menu, and keeps her fat level up by eating lots of avocados. She drinks fresh squeezed fruit juice and eats a training diet of pasta, nuts, and seeds when she's on tour. Because she has such a grueling schedule, her trainer tries to include foods that give a complete protein and carbohydrate base.
Friends who peeked in her refrigerator really found very little in there. There's like bottled water, and she always has popcorn in the house to snack on when she's hungry, but basically she tries to eat very little during the day. When she's touring, she has a vegetarian cook go with her, and she just really eats vegetarian foods. When she's home, she's not so organized.
Madonna stays away from drugs. She doesn't see any point in taking them. All the feelings that people take drugs for, confidence, energy, relaxation, she feels she can produce naturally. Besides, she hates the thought of losing control.
her days are pretty well scheduled. She doesn't waste a lot of time. She gets up and she does her workout. She does things around the house before she does her workout. Then she does her workout with or without a boyfriend, if there happens to be a boyfriend around or a husband at the time. And then she does a lot of rehearsing in the afternoons, business meetings. She's always running around to see her lawyers and her agents and her managers and setting up this and that. She comes up with ideas. She reads everything she can lay her hands on, magazines and everything, to know what's going on, what's new, what I should know about. And she really, you know, she doesn't waste a lot of time. She doesn't just veg out between concert tours.
A 1987 article quotes her as saying, "I try to live a normal life. I don't go around in limousines. I don't have bodyguards. I try to be low-key." The reality is that she now has to have a bodyguard close by. She can't even stop to sign an autograph, or she will be mobbed. However, to date, no one has heard Madonna complaining. Since Madonna has all a woman could want, looks, health, success, wealth, she must have her choice of companions. Who could resist being interested in who she chooses and how they're doing? Madonna married for the first time in 1986. The groom was Sean Penn, son of TV director Leo Penn and former actress Eileen Ryan. The wedding was a very show-busy affair on a clifftop in Malibu, California. Madonna has described it as a circus.
I think Madonna could have handled her wedding better if she really didn't want publicity, but I think she really loved the idea of all this world attention. She knew it was going to happen. I mean, she could have run off to Las Vegas. She could have done a lot of things that would have been more private. But as she set it up, naturally, there were photographers hanging from trees. There were, people were actually trying to rent houses nearby so they could focus long lenses on the wedding. I mean, there was, everyone was trying to buy off the caterers and put someone in a waiter's uniform and sneak them into the wedding. There were 1,000,001 schemes to get to that Madonna wedding. It was like every tabloid, every paper had to be there. Of course, she banned all the press to make it more exciting. And it turned out to be, there were just too many helicopters zooming around. And to have a wedding outdoors and you don't want attention, well, Madonna, come on. I mean, who believes it? But I think that in her wedding also, she showed her fashion flair wearing a derby. I mean, when is the last time you saw someone wear a derby with a wedding dress?
They met on the set of her Material Girl video. She was sizzling, and he was a critically acclaimed actor. He was fascinated by her. After the marriage, they seemed inseparable, kissing and fondling in public. They seemed genuinely in love. Sean and Madonna were a good case for opposites attracting. His passion for privacy is as fierce as her passion for being cheered in public. She is impulsive, and he thinks about things for a long time and broods. He is suspicious, and she is trusting.
How much does your appearance here tonight have to do with kind of your own feeling to sort of patch up things with the press? Is that part of why you're here?
No, the press that has slammed me, I say them. And as far as supporting this movie, that's what I'm here to do.
You really have kind of stayed away from public appearances, though, the two of you.
We've been busy working.
That's a good answer. How's that movie going?
Well, we finished shooting it, and hopefully it'll be as good as this movie.
Sean Penn was definitely the great love of Madonna's life. He was like the boyfriend she dreamed about when she was a little girl. She said he was her hero and her best friend. And she really adored him. And she was heartbroken when their marriage broke up. I mean, people think she's like a cold-hearted woman, but it's not the case at all. It broke her heart having to give him up because she really and truly loved him.
After the wedding, the couple moved into a Spanish-style villa in a canyon in Malibu, surrounded by 50 acres, a big gate, and a view of the ocean. Madonna seemed to adjust happily to married life, sometimes even enjoying doing her own housework. Many times, Sean would bring someone home to dinner, and she would be in cutoffs, washing dishes or making the beds, and Sean would laugh and introduce her as one of the richest women in America. Like most marriages, the couple had their ups and downs, but unlike most couples, their downs were smeared all over the headlines. Madonna felt that the media wanted her marriage to fail, and that the pressure put a strain on the relationship. According to her, a lot of times the press would make up the most awful things about the couple. But at the same time, angry lyrics began to creep into Madonna's songs. It has been hinted that the lyrics of "Till Death Do Us Part" reveal how Madonna was really feeling about the relationship. She sings, "You're not in love with me anymore. It cuts me like a knife. I'm not your friend. I'm just your little wife." Madonna shrugs it off. Sean has no comment. The Penns heading to divorce court started to seem like an annual event. The first call the Malibu Sheriff's Office received was from Madonna complaining that Sean assaulted her. 12 days later, she dropped the charges. 1 year later, the pair declared once again that the marriage was over. This time, it took 13 days for them to change their minds. She filed for divorce in January 1989. After Sean, the next big Madonna romance to hit the tabloids was when she started seeing Warren Beatty.
She likes it when she finds a smart man. Sean was a reader. He read important books and poetry, and she was impressed with that, and she sort of picked up on it. And Warren, the same way, he knew a lot about filmmaking. He knew a lot about life. And she likes to soak this up from other people and like just drain them of all their information. She's very smart like that. Warren's eyes were always on Madonna at a party. No matter where she was in the room, he always knew where she was. And she was always watching him to see if he was watching her flirting with other people or whatever. They always had this cat and mouse relationship, which delighted Madonna because she loves to flirt. She loves men to get jealous. And Warren is like the first person to get jealous. He loves that whole kind of game playing too. And it's really romantic in a way. And that's one reason that they stayed together for so long, because they could torment each other in that kind of wonderful, sexy way. On the set of Dick Tracy, the crew was always aware that Madonna was Warren's special sweetheart, because if she wasn't sitting on his lap, cooing and cuddling, he was like running and getting things for her, making sure that she had everything she wanted, that the right time. If she didn't want to get up early, they changed the time of the shooting. He kind of rolled out the red carpet for Madonna, and everyone on the set knew about it, but they all expected it, so I don't think there was a great deal of resentment.
It seems that the press just looks for excuses to shove Madonna into the headlines. Reports have varied greatly about who she is seeing and the extent of the involvement. But like all headlines connected with the queen of pop rock, only Madonna will ever know for sure. For generations, women have been stuffed into corsets, hidden by hats, and ventilated in miniskirts, all depending on the mood that hits the designer. Hemlines are up, then they're down. We have had tent dresses, bell-bottoms, paper dresses, psychedelic tights, go-go boots, string bikinis, and muumuus. Seasonal changes are a massive challenge to stamina as well as bank accounts. Just when you've saved enough or gotten up enough nerve to join the latest fashion trend, it's already out of style. And then there is Madonna.
Most women are afraid to change a hair on their heads. If they look good, they're scared to death to change the color of their hair from black to platinum blonde, to cut it all the way off to down to 3 inches from 15. It's just too much for them. They're afraid, but Madonna is fearless. She's very confident about her looks, and she knows she can look good a lot of different ways. And she really has a lot of nerve when it comes to changing her image entirely. And that's what keeps her fresh all the time. You never get tired of her because she never comes back as the same person.
In the early 80s, Madonna sported lots and lots of bangles and bracelets, a mop of blonde hair tied up in a bow of material, crucifixes, lace gloves, and a bare midriff added to the look. It was overdressed, underdressed, mismatched, and untamed. She was having fun. The look was cheap and easy to copy. And copy it they did.
It's put together, but it's comfortable. To me, it's very comfortable. It's easy to put together.
So dressing like Madonna is not only trendy, it's comfortable. But what message are those young wannabes trying to communicate?
I don't know, I love the way she dresses. She does what she wants. You know, everybody loves her. She's a really good performer. She said she'd make it when she was little, and she did.
Yeah, she wanted to be a star.
She's Italian. One of the top. Yeah, she's Italian.
Right. I love Madonna, and I love being different. Well, it doesn't look like I'm too different right now, but like around home, it's different, and it's expressing myself. It's not being just like everybody else. I love the way Madonna is. I love how she's aggressive and stuff. She's not, you know, all shy.
She's really changed the fashion world. Everybody started wearing bustiers and sheer black lace and leggings, and everybody imitated her bunches of crosses around her neck and her jewelry, and jewelry stores changed. They all started stocking Madonna things. Anything that she wore one week, they would come out with, and girls started imitating her and layering their clothes the way she would put things together in a real creative way.
Not that expensive, you know. You can just throw stuff together and you look good, you know. I like to catch attention, and I like to catch people's eyes when I'm walking down the street.
In 1985, Madonna went back to her original hair color and tamed her look a bit. She lost the tons of bangles but kept the chains and necklaces. Her wardrobe included more pants and less skin. The next year, she took a more conservative turn. Less jewelry, much softer. She adopted a more glamorous look, some say the spitting image of Marilyn Monroe. For most fans, the change was a shock, an abrupt switch from the trendy, tossed-together look they were used to. For many, this look was a journey back to an age they had never experienced. Next came the cropped hair, the black corsets, and fishnet stockings. All of a sudden, across America, underwear became outerwear. This was a bold, strong, modern, independent look. She was taking control and having fun doing it. Dick Tracy brought back the impulsive blonde look once again. And offstage, the Madonna midriff was back in, if somewhat more conservative. Of all the many looks Madonna has introduced, it's the wild, bold, daring, untamed image that young girls seem to imitate the most.
Nobody has done this before. It's there to be different. Right, and it's kind of seductive, you know. It's people stop.
Catches the eye.
Yeah, it does catch the eye. People stop and look, and you know, you never know what they think. They either like it or they don't. Who cares if they don't? You know, just as long as what we do.
You feel comfortable about it.
The only thing predictable about Madonna is that she never stays the same. Some say it is all part of staying on top, of not getting stale. According to Madonna, she doesn't feel like she's putting on a costume. The look is part of her personality and mood. She feels that for the past 20 years, women have been suppressing the feminine part of themselves. They have felt that if they dress or act too femininely, that men won't respect them. Now someone is finally saying that it's okay to emphasize the fact that you're a woman. There have always been women who have caught the attention of the media and of the world. They have a combination of sex appeal, strength, vulnerability, and charisma. They have also had an agent with a sharp eye, a strong sense of what the public wanted, and the good sense to be in the right place at the right time. Yes, it takes hard work, talent, and self-confidence. But there have been many talented individuals who never made it to the big time. Was Madonna mania something that was planned? Or was it just something nice that happened to a cute girl from Michigan?
Nobody tries to take the credit for Madonna's career because Madonna is the brains behind her own career. She is smart. She knows how to manage her money. She knows how to hire all the right people to work with her. She really has the brains to package a huge success. I mean, no one can step out and say, I'm Colonel Parker with Madonna, because she's really pulled everything off herself. And you have to give her great credit for knowing who to hire in the right places. She's very smart about that.
If it's a package, where did it come from? Growing up, Madonna admired beautiful, glamorous women from Marilyn Monroe to Jean Harlow, the kind of women who don't seem to be around much anymore. She likes funny, silly, sweet, sexy women. She saw herself in them, her funniness, her need to boss people around, and at the same time, be taken care of. Her street smarts, her innocence. But Madonna isn't rerunning stereotypes. She's rewriting.
Madonna doesn't want to really think about Marilyn Monroe too much because she's been compared so often, but I think that Marilyn was certainly an inspiration. She immediately saw what an attention grabber Marilyn Monroe was. And she studied, what is it about Marilyn Monroe that everybody's looking at and crazy about, and why has she lasted for so many years after her death? Why is she still popular and important? So she realized she picked up a lot of her glamorous ideas from Marilyn Monroe, the blonde hair, the makeup, I mean, the way of dressing, the extravagant style. But she does like that like streak of baby girlishness and innocence, but Madonna doesn't pull off the innocent part too well. I think you could compare Madonna to Mae West and her satire on sex, because she loves to dress up in a very sexy way, and the kind of language that Mae West used that has two meanings. I think Madonna likes to say things like that to shock people.
I'm no angel. Of course, I didn't call it I'm no angel for nothing. Don't forget, come up and see me sometime.
She's very playful. She's a sex symbol that can get away and laugh at the same time. And she's really a woman of the 90s because she deals with sex in a very direct and open way. She's playful, she makes fun, and she flirts, and she really has a good time with sex. It's not a real serious issue. And I think that's why she's such a pleasure to watch, because she just enjoys herself and her own body so much, obviously.
Can the Madonna phenomenon be explained? Time magazine didn't think so. Big-time showbiz is 3/4 mass hysteria, especially when teenagers and rock music are involved. And anyone who thinks he can explain it fully is dreaming. So what is ahead for this celebrated queen of rock? Well, sooner or later, every fairy tale must come to an end, but this one has no end in sight. For now, we'll just make an optimistic guess.